In this video we are going to discuss about the laws of motion. In the previous chapter we discussed about a topic called kinematics, which was the study of motion of objects or the effect of force. Now the study of motion of objects means it was a subfield of classical mechanics that describes the motion of points, bodies and system of bodies without considering the forces that cause them to move. That means it was the study of the effect of force. It is also known as the geometry of motion. This is a brief introduction to the laws of motion, in which we study about in this chapter we study about the laws of motion. Here we are going to understand what is known as kinetics. Previously we studied about kinematics, and now we are to study or understand what is kinetics. Now this was a new branch of physics introduced by Newton in 1687 in his book Principia. In this book he published 3 laws of motion related to all the moving objects in the universe. Now kinematics was also known as the cause of motion or force. It was known as the cause. Kinematics was the effect of force, and this was the cause of motion. Now we try to understand what is force. We all know it. Force is an external influence which changes or tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion of a body. It is a vector quantity. We will discuss about force in a broader perspective later. Now, Newtonian mechanics. This is a part of classical physics. It states the relation between the force and the acceleration it causes, and was first understood by Sir Isaac Newton. The study of that relation as presented as Newtonian mechanics. Now, the first known law of motion to mankind was Aristotelian law of motion. Now this Greek philosopher, he asserted that the natural state of a body is the state of rest. Aristotle said that the natural state of the body is a state of rest. Every body in motion, it tends to slow down and comes to rest. An external force is necessary to maintain its motion. For example, a cart on a road has to be constantly pushed to keep it in motion. Anything, when it is moving, we have to give a force constantly to keep it in motion. If we give a single push, it will not take the body very far away. From such observations, Aristotle concluded in his law of motion, known as the Aristotelian law of motion, that is, an external force is necessary to keep a body moving with uniform velocity. However, this view of Aristotle was proved wrong by Galileo 2000 years after. He observed that external forces were necessary to counter the opposing forces of friction. Aristotle did not have the idea of frictional forces. But Galileo was the first to announce that there is a resistive force called friction, which has to be opposed to keep a body in motion. So if there were no friction, no external force would be needed to maintain the state of uniform motion of a body. When we push a body along a surface which has got no friction, then the body will move constantly without any decrease of speed. It was Galileo who first asserted that objects move with constant speed when no external forces act on them. Now the statement of Newton's first law of motion: every body continues to be in a state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless the body is compelled to change its state by a net external force, that is, no acceleration of the object. If there is a force, there is acceleration. If there is no force, there is no acceleration. Now from this first law we get 2 things. We have to understand 2 things. One is every body continues to be in a state of rest or uniform motion, continues to be in a state. Now what does this mean? It means a property you have to understand, which is known as inertia. There are two types of inertia. One is known as the inertia of motion and one is known as the inertia of rest. One is the rest and another is the inertia of motion. So every body has the tendency, if the body is at rest, it will continue to be in a state of rest, or if the body is in motion or uniform motion, it will continue to be a state of motion in a straight line. So by definition, we can say the property of a body which enables it to continue in its state of rest or of uniform motion is called inertia. Now, how to change this? How to change the form of inertia? We have to apply force. So the first part of the first law states about a property called inertia, and how to change that inertia is stated in the next part. Unless the body is compelled to change its state by a net external force. So the first law can be treated as the definition of force. Inertia of rest to inertia of motion, or inertia of motion to inertia of rest. Change the inertia of the body. That is the function of an external force. Now, after we have understood what a force can do, we are going to discuss about the types of forces. There are basically two types of forces, but we can extend it to more than two. But the basic of the two forces are, one is contact forces, another is non-contact forces. Now, contact forces are types forces which in which the bodies are in contact with each other, like tension force. Now, tension force are seen in strings and chains, etc. Normal reaction, spring force, frictional force, and non-contact forces are also known as the field forces. That means field acts. Number one is gravitational force, number two electrostatic force, number three is magnetic force. All these forces are non-contact forces because the bodies do not get in contact with each other. Now, what is gravitational force? We all know this was proposed by Newton. Attraction between two masses. Suppose this is m1, this is m2, separated by a distance r. The force of attraction is given by Newton like this: m1 m2 by r square. This is a universal constant known as g, whose value is constant throughout the universe. Now, this force is known as the gravitational force. It's the product of it is equal to the product of the masses, or rather it is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance separating them. Number two is electrostatic force. Similar is the case with the electrostatic force. Instead of mass, we have charges here. Electrostatic force means number one is this. Number two, what is electrostatic force? It will be like this: Q1 Q2 by r square. The formulation structure is the same here. Instead of masses, we get charge here. And third one is magnetic force. These are M means they are the pole strength or the poles. M dash by r square. So all these forces are non-contact forces, because when the last one, the magnetic force, is caused between the two poles of magnet. One is north and another is south. So attraction force, if both north comes in close contact with each other, then there is repulsion force. Now, coming to the contact forces, the first one is tension force. Now, tension force occurs in strings and chains. Now this is a string from which a mass is hung. The mass is m, so the weight acts downwards towards the center of the earth, that is mg. Now this mass, or the weight of this mass of the block, is held by the string, and the tension force acts upwards. So you get the equation T is equal to mg. This is known as the tension force in the string. Second one is normal reaction. Now normal reaction means if a body is kept on the ground, the weight of the body acts downwards mg. Reaction force is given by the ground to the body. Now this is a action reaction pair, or Newton's third law. Mg acts downwards and the reaction force acts upwards. The third one is spring force. If we pull a spring downwards, what happens? It extends. If we compress it, the length of the spring decreases. And the last one was frictional force, the most important force, because this is the most important contact force that we have to deal with while solving problems. Now whenever a body is pulled, suppose with the force F, if the body tries to move in this direction, the first thing that it has to overcome is the force of friction between the surface of the body, the bottom surface of the body, and the surface on which it is kept. And the frictional force always acts in the backward direction. Whenever there is a force and a motion, the frictional force will always act in the reverse direction. So for the body to move forward, this force must be very greater than the frictional force. Now the resultant force that acts on the body, is F minus F, that is the force of pull that we have exerted, minus the frictional force. This is the resultant force with which the body moves forward, or we can say it is the accelerating causing force, because this force will be equal to ma, as we will discuss it in the Newton's second law. Now a little bit discussion about the inertial and the non-inertial frames of reference. Now about explaining of this fact, when the motion of a body is considered near the surface of the earth surface is taken as the frame of reference. A stone lying on the surface of the earth remains in that state of rest unless an external force is applied on it. Also, a spherical object lying on the floor of a train moving with uniform velocity, it remains at rest in the absence of an external force. Hence, for a frame of reference, stationary or in uniform motion, Newton's first law of motion holds good. Now, such frames of reference are known as the inertial frames of reference. The first one is the inertial frame of reference, where Newton's laws are applicable and this frame is at rest or uniform motion. Whenever an inertial frame is at rest, inertial frames means that a frame is at rest or uniform motion. There the Newton's laws are applicable. But on the other hand, if we say that for a spherical object on the floor of a train accelerating suddenly, the object will also move with an acceleration but in the backward direction. If the train accelerates in one direction, the spherical body will accelerate in the reverse direction. Though no external force was applied on the spherical object, it will change its state of rest. Now, the second type of frame that we have to understand now is the non-inertial frame of reference, in which the first law is not applicable. So I have written that Newton's laws are not applicable as the frame is accelerating. So for frames which are accelerating, that cannot be considered as inertial frames, as well as Newton's laws will not be applicable. Now, acceleration is produced even in the absence of an external force or of an external force in a non-inertial frame of reference. It can be explained by considering these forces to be a kind of fictitious or pseudo force. Such pseudo force are you can call it centrifugal force is a kind of fictitious force. Centrifugal force, we are going to study about this force in circular motion. It is a very common form of pseudo force encountered in our daily lives. Newton's laws of motion will be applicable even in non-inertial frames of reference if the pseudo forces are properly taken into account.